In this presentation, we are going to cover these small points. Let me just list them down, all of them in one go. So these are the points that we are going to cover. The first point that we are trying to see is what are our goals for the kitchen garden? Like, what is the purpose of our kitchen garden? And from that, we can get to know what type of budget we want to place in it, what kind of time we want to invest in making that garden, and what type of vegetables we want. This also depends on the type of climate you have. So all of this actually depends on the microclimate that you are all living in. So I will be giving you a basic outline of the things to consider while gardening, but you will have to fine tune the small items and small places that you have to take care of, because climate and the water and the pH of the soil and all these things stay with you locally, and they are always different from different places. So, for example, if you are living in a very rainy area, your pH will be normal, something like 6.5. That is the pH of the rainwater. So, I think 6.5. Yeah, if you, it's not even 6, because of the pollution, which is going on, it is a little bit acidic. So we can say 6, but basically it's 6.5. That is the normal, like the middle, where it's neither acidic nor is it a base. So that is the kind of thing that you have to consider. And if you are in a area where there is a lot of salt and all these kind of things, like which we are in Kutch right now, it's a lot of micro salts are there, calcium carbonate and sodium, these kind of things are there in the formation of and even the desert itself is near the sea, so we have a lot of salt coming in from there also. So the pH balance also differs from that for the soil and the water also. So you have to take care of all these kind of things when we are talking about what kind of garden you want to make. So you cannot say that हमारे पास भिंडी उग रही है मुंबई में, तो वो भिंडी क्यों कच्छ में नहीं उगेगी? So there is a difference. Only in rainy time in Kutch you can grow okra or lady fingers. You cannot grow it all the time. Like for example in Mumbai you can do it regularly. So this is the kind of things that you have to keep in mind. So learning about the balances of the nature, like earth is itself a very very balanced form of planets, where there are seasons, there are cyclic natures of carbon, there are cyclic natures of nitrogen. So all these balances have to be understood a little bit, at least in a little bit detail also. You have to go it, just not the on top of it area. You have to understand what is the carbon cycle, the nitrogen cycle, to do proper gardening also. Because what happens is, sometimes, for example, I'll give you a simple understanding. The moon affects how you garden. So if the moon is further away from this earth and you place the seed during that time, what happens is the water will go towards the earth, the center of the earth, and attract the water in the center of the earth. So whenever you plant a seed, or you plant a seed when the earth is away, your water, whatever you place the water, it goes down quickly because of the gravity of the earth. But when the moon is nearer to the earth, like it rotates in an elliptical way. So when it is nearer to the earth, like this is the earth and the moon is nearing to the earth, and at that time you plant, so as it is going around, the roots are starting to come out slowly. So within a couple of 5 days, the roots will already have come out, and the water also would have stayed up. The water, basically, when you water a plant, the water stays up because of the gravitation pull of the moon. So all these small things we'll be talking about, how even the moon can affect the way you garden, or even if you garden well. So for example, every 15 days it goes half a cycle, and that's how it completes a whole circle in a month. So you just have to wait for like maximum of 2 weeks before you plant, at the right time. So it's not like you have to wait for a whole month. When every 15 days or 14 days, you just calculate it, and then when the right time comes, we will discuss all these things. When the right time comes and you plant it, it will grow in a healthier plant. So this is the kind of things you have to take care of also. So these are the balance and the normality of the earth that we have to understand. We have to understand the cyclicity of the nature of the planet, and all these things have to be learned, so before we start gardening. And then we'll go on to gardening tools, simple things like shovels and spades and all these kind of things. This is not a hard thing to understand actually. And then we'll go into how what kind of plant we want to grow, what kind of climate you have, and what kind of vegetables you want to grow, and based on your budget. So this is just an overview of the type of questions and queries that you're going to cover. Apart from this, there's a lot of details that even students can understand, and I'm hoping that we have a lot of students joining in, because this course is more about um, learning the nature's laws, and in the process, when you do that, the outcome or the benefit of that is that you get a good produce. So it's not about making the plant healthy, it's about making the soil healthy, you know. A lot of people have understood this very late, but when you make the soil healthy, that's when the plant also gets enough nutrients, and it also becomes strong. So you have to focus on those things. So the cyclicity of the earth has to be understood. We can see that the earth is a biosphere. It's a very complex, yet again supremely balanced ecosystem, right, which supports life. So if we look at any small thing about the earth, like for example, it's contains the earth itself, and when the earth meets the water and the air, that's called the biosphere. So we are basically living on the biosphere, and that is the place that we can survive. You know, even plants can survive when all these three elements are there, at least the earth, air, and the water. Without any one of them, the plants will not survive. So you must be remembering those experiments we did, when we place a small branch inside a polythene bag and we cut it out for we basically starve it for air. So those leaves will dry out, or they'll decompose or decay away, because there's no air. So plants need air. And then similarly, if you remove it from the root system, it will obviously die. And then you don't water it also, then also the plant will also die. So the biosphere is the reason where the plants grow. So we have to understand and give what earth is giving. What happens these days is people start planting in plot in tubs, you know, plastic tubs and pots and all these kind of things. They don't understand that the earth is also managing the microclimate of the root system. So the root systems are under the earth, and the climate is different there as opposed to what is the climate outside. So we have to be aware of all these small things and get to respect these things. You know, if we don't do that, what will happen is that they will just bypass you, and you will get a small produce, and you'll not be able to understand. You will say that, okay, it worked out, it didn't work out, the kitchen garden failed. So we have to take care that the biosystem of the earth is understood, and once we get this biosphere concept clear, we'll be able to replicate it in a micro way in our gardens, and that's how we'll get a good produce. So it's very important to understand this balance. um, this is a line which I like to emphasize on, and this line is very important. Like, our actions bloom for what we accept. Like, for example, I'll give you a small scenario. um, if we are having some price of some commodity, and that price is out of the budget of your capacity, so what will you do is you will not accept to buy that product. But if that price is within your reach, you will accept it. Okay, this is worth buying, it is a deal. So it becomes in your conscious mind to adopt it, or to take it, or to buy it. The acceptance is very important. What we are working on right now in these lessons and these courses will be what we need to learn, so that we can accept the simple truths. And then once those truths are accepted, the idea of ignorance is eradicated. Now, what, for example, when I said about the moon, did you understand that how the moon attracts the water up? जैसे कि even if you go to the beach, sometimes the tide is high. So what is happening is the moon is attracting all that water, and water is sort of liquid form. It can move, you know. So all the water is getting attracted to the moon. Similarly, if you plant during those times, during those 7, 8, 10 days when the earth is nearing the moon, you will get a good upshooting of the plant, you know. So this is the kind of simple thing that you have understood, and once you accept it, what will happen is you have been eradicated from ignorance. You have been eradicated from ignorance. Now you know. Now you are not no longer ignorant. So now you will plant at those days when the moon is nearing the earth. So that is the idea. And how did it happen? Through education or training seminars or workshops. Is basically the same thing. So you need to educate yourself. So this first line is again summarizing of what and why we want to conduct these courses, is to get you to educate yourself about the principles and the notions of gardenings that we need to understand first before you start gardening. All this is all then is left is a natural flow. Once you get the education right, the right education, for example, if you get it right in your head and you accept it right, what happens after that is a natural flow of events, and there is synchronicity happening, like it will start blooming in the right time, the fruits will hold on the plant, and then those fruits will also blossom into those ripened fruits that we want to eat. So all this will become in a cyclic nature, and all synchronicities will happen in the right time, and ultimately what will happen is you are left with harmony with nature. That is ultimately what the forest of Eden, for example, is all about, right? Jungles and jungles of fruits were growing before, and we used to survive on those only. And how was it happening? Because nature was taking care of the things automatically, almost, so once we understand those nature's laws, everything becomes in harmony. So that is the idea of understanding the laws. The result is a mutually benefiting outcome for the entities involved, which can be said to be prosperity. So now, what is happening with the farmers and the plantations in the world is that they are not aware of what is the natural law of the system, like diversity, for example. When we say about farms, most of the time we see is monocropping, one type of plantations throughout the farm is being grown. If it's sisal, it's all sisal, acres and acres of sisal. If it's cotton, it's all cotton. If it's peanuts, it's all peanuts. If it's all castor oil, it's all castor oil. All of this is actually not in line or not in tune with nature, because nature is about diversity. If you see a forest, there are small plants, big plants, different types of trees, canopy trees, so, shrubs that are there also down there. So it's all a mixture of variety of plants and trees growing there. So we have to understand this, that nature is about diversity. So once we understand this kind of things and we start doing farming which is in line with nature, we will be left with prosperity as the end. So that is the thing that we are trying to say here. um, does anybody have any query or question? Am I going through? Am I making sense to you guys? Does the talk sort of give you aha moments? Yeah. As I said before, this is a interactive sort of conversation that I want to indulge you in. I'm hoping that you guys are also listening attentively, but at the same time, if any questions arise, the message box, please type it in. I will check it periodically and we'll get to it. At least if it's relevant to the topic that I'm speaking, I can talk directly at that time, or I'll take it at the end also. So shall I continue? If anybody doesn't have any question, I can continue. Yes? Okay, good. So now, what are our needs? Like basically, you would say roti, kapra, makan. That is the basic answer that a typical small child will also give. Hamari zarurat kya hai? To roti, kapra, makan. But even before that, like just go a little bit closer to yourself. Roti, kapra, makan is still further away. What is closer to you? You need air continuously, like every second. I mean, there are people who can hold their breaths for like 2 minutes or 3 minutes. There are world records who are holding it for 4 minutes. But those are exclusive people. I'm talking about us, like you and me. We need air continuously. Like हर क्षण हमको हवा चाहिए. So every time we have to have air. Like it has to be present. Even if it is not present, the aeroplanes have the oxygen bottles, ready, that in case the window breaks or something, the oxygen masks come down and then quickly you have to put on. So that is the first thing that they teach you if you are in a flight, they will show you how to breathe the air in case there is an explosion or something, the window breaks or something in the aircraft. So we need air continuously, right? And then we need water every day at least. एक दिन में पानी नहीं पिया तो दूसरे दिन में आपको पानी चाहिए. The next day you'll not be able to hold the thirst. You know, of course there are people who have done world records again, that they have not eaten or drunk for months at least. So that's another thing. I'm talking about you and me. You know, so I at least need to drink, maximum I can survive is for 2 days, 3 days maximum. And normally we have to drink every day. So we need water every day, we need air continuously, and we need food every second day. 2 दिन उपवास किया है, अब तीसरे दिन तो खाना चाहिए, थर्ड डे वी हैव टू ईट. सो दीज आर द थिंग्स. इसमें रोटी आ गई आई गेस, बिकॉज फूड इज देयर, सो फूड वी कैन काउंट, रोटी इज काउंटेड इन देयर. सो वी नीड एयर, वाटर एंड फूड. सो हमारी जरूरत क्या है? हवा, पानी और खुराक. That can be said now. It should be rephrased, I think, in schools or whatever. So for this, what are we doing? The three things that we need, one of them is really continuously. That continuous thing that we need, what are we doing to it? This is the nature of the continuous thing that we are needing. Can you imagine? Like, I'm sure this is a, I'm not giving a particular name to the city, but almost all metropolitan cities are having this issue. In fact, let's just name them. Mumbai is one of them, Bangalore is one of them, the New Delhi is another one. And these are just in India. Like, you go world over, China has more cities than this. Compared to countries that are less developed, which do you think is better off? If we need air continuously, we are talking about what we need continuously. इसके बिना जिंदा नहीं रह सकते, right? So if air is counted as something that is needed continuously, then which country is richer? Which one would you say? Obviously the one which is not developed. Can you see the conundrum? We say that the land or the city is developed, but at the air quality level, जीरो, बिल्कुल नेगेटिव होता जाता है, क्रिटिकल भी हो जाता है कभी कभी. So that is the sort of evaluation, that we are doing, that a city is prosperous or a city is developed. But at that time, if you look at the air level, air quality level, it's very bad. So this is the kind of thing. What are we doing to the waters? Okay, this is the status of the waters. Most of the ponds or the rivers you'll see on the sides of the road as you're traveling, this is the kind of picture you will see. This grim picture, this is actually a positive picture I've put deliberately, because only we can fix the problems. No alien will come and purify our water or air, or in the plastics that we have dumped in this landfills. So the food that grows also is on the earth. What is the state of the earth? Landfills of garbage and all these things. Now again, you guys are wondering, like, yeah, to gardening course, what is happening? We are talking about garbage and all these things. So we have to counter it with what is the real situation. We want to do gardening, okay, but why do we need to do gardening? If we don't do gardening, then this is where the food is coming from: polluted air, polluted water, and polluted earth. So that's why we need to put this at a higher pedestal. So we need to counter it with what is there right now. Right now we have genetically modified food, we have food with pesticides, we have food with herbicides. All this kind of sides they are there in the food. And then we are saying that khana acha laga, lekin pacha nahi. खाना अच्छा तो लगा, इट वाज गुड टू ईट फूड आउटसाइड. खाना खाने के बाद दूसरे दिन पे पचता नहीं है, तो व्हाट हैपेंस, दैट इज द थिंग. एंड होममेड फूड और विलेज फूड इज completely different in taste, in texture, in aroma, in even the tenderness of cooking. It cooks faster. So all these things are there. We need to focus on that. And how we can focus on that? Because we keep this in contrast. So this is the contrast I'm trying to show you before we start to do the gardening course. I'm trying to activate inside you the 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 mechanism within you to act. That is the thing. Action. You have to bring down everything that you learn today, tomorrow, and the next 5 days to action. If that is not the case, what will happen is ultimately you will just listen to this course, you will agree with it, and then you will close the chapter. You need to accept it. As we started with the with this line, our actions bloom from what we accept. We don't need to just agree with the things, we need to accept them. Then only we can put it to action. So this sentence, keep on remembering it. we are recording this session, so people who are joining now, they can uh, get to know what they have missed. But let's get on time so that we can have questions answered at the right time. We can get to know in the beginning what other people are also getting to wanting to know. So yeah, this is the quality of the earth, the air, the water, and the soil. Like basically, these are the landfills, and this is not just in one place. As I said, every town almost is this is the status of the outside of the town. Anywhere you go at the outskirts of the town, you will see this kind of visions. And even in Bhuj, like where we live, it's not even about 10 lakhs people living here, but this is just a small landfill compared to what we have in Bhuj. And there is a fire that burns there in these landfills day and night. This is the kind of situation that we are in live. And Bhuj is a very secluded sort of like a place. It's almost just based on tourism when the white run starts and all these things. But still, landfill, a big landfill is there, and I'm sure another couple of places there are there also. The fire is burning there continuously. Plastic jalta hi rehta hai pura raat din. This is the kind of situations that we are living in. So we are fortunately given the tools for tasting what, like earth is given. We are living on earth, and for example, people who are privileged, they might be having land, or they might be having other good amenities with them. But everybody has these five senses, and with these five senses, they can taste, smell, see, touch, and feel. Yeah, I got all of them right. Yeah. Touch, see, smell, taste, and hear. All of the things, anything in this earth, right? So what is gardening about? Gardening is a unique activity where we can use the sight, we can use the smell. When we taste it, we are getting the smell of it. 80% of what you taste is actually smell. So we are tasting it, we are smelling it, we are also listening it a little bit. A sound is there also when you're crunching, sound is there when you eat something. So, and we are obviously touching the produce that we are making. So gardening is this one thing that has all the five senses involved. So it's like a very, like जिसमें कहते हैं ना कि बच्चों गेम्स खेलते हैं, so they are using their mind to connect with their eyesight and the ears. So these two senses are giving the input to the brain, and they are getting the dopamine high. So dopamine are those kind of neurochemicals that induce into you the happiness hormone. It's like the happiness hormone. So when all the five senses are involved in that kind of thing, you can imagine what kind of dopamine levels, and your health increases because of that, because you are in a feel good. Your mood also changes when you're gardening. So this is the kind of things that I was trying to say. We are already given the things to tools to taste the earth and the world, and from that all of the five senses are connected with gardening. So that was my point of this slide. Not just that, we can share our experience. Like for example, we can have a community garden where the kids are learning with the grandmothers. Like you can see this picture here, the grandmother must have sown the seeds, and now the kids are harvesting with them. So this is a way of strengthening relationships. Not much is talked about this, but today, where we are at a global warming situation, though also there is a void of communication between people and related, even in the families. So gardening is one small step towards that kind of uh, bridging the gap between those two generations. So this is the kind of thing that we actually share. Like every person who is gardening, they will have an abundant supply if they're doing it properly. If they're doing it according to the laws of nature, they will have an abundant supply. And the maximum that you can eat is basically the size of your hands. Like when you open your hands, this is the size of your stomach. That's the amount of food you can eat, or you should eat rather, right? So after this, whatever just doesn't stay here, it goes to the sharing, like to the friends or to the neighbors and to those people who are around you. Because if you keep it in your house, how long will you keep the garden produce? One day, 2 days, after that it will start decomposing. So you have to share. So that's the thing I'm trying to say. And when you share, you will strengthen the relationships. The gardeners, uh, whoever are the gardeners, they will always have good circles and family relations, and even the relations with the neighbors with them, which will be good. Because if you are a giver, you are not a consumer. And a person who is a giver is always appreciated. किसी के घर पे भी जाते हैं, if you are going with some sort of gift item, you will be appreciated. And imagine you're going with a fruit basket now. So that's the kind of thing that you will get the benefit of. So if you're going with a fruit basket, you will be appreciated more. You'll be given like, हाँ आइए मेरे घर पे आइए, फिर से आइए, दूसरी बार भी आइए और आपका फ्रूट बास्केट भी लेके आइए. So that's the privilege of the gardener. So that's what I'm trying to say here. Strengthen your relationships, and you will share. And once, not only that, gardeners have this well, when you become a vigilant gardener, like a proper gardener, you will have a seed bank of your own. Now, what is a seed bank? Is the seeds that you've collected over the years of the produce that you have found to be good, or the produce that you have found to be sweet, or the produce that you have found to be more productive. So if something is sweet, you will get to taste it. You will understand that this is worthy of taking forward. So you will keep that seed, and then once you do that, you will have your own seed bank. And in that way, you will be collecting the seeds of the plants that you think are strong, or plants that you think are having bigger produces, or plants that you think are having sweeter produces. So this is all the things that once you get to be a vigilant gardener, a very active, proactive gardener, you will get to have and work with all these kind of things, right? So few people who are joining, I'm just conversing with them for a second. We are recording this session, so you might be able to follow up with us. Right now we are just connecting with what are the benefits and how gardening helps into the whole culture of sharing and giving and all these kind of things. So yeah, let me just continue. Seeds are small factories. Like, we always say that a factory is capital intensive. It needs land, it needs this and that, and then when it starts, it produces something. But a seed is like a factory in itself. It starts producing as soon as you sow it. And it doesn't need much. It just needs a little bit of water and humus, and it starts germinating. And this is the kind of privilege that you will get to be owning so many types of factories in your backyard, right? So that's the beauty of sharing. And then once you share, you'll have also seeds to share also with people. Okay. Before I continue, any questions anybody has until now? Any questions? Okay. I'm i'm on schedule actually, so that's why we'll have a last maybe 10 minutes we can have also for discussion, and we can get to know if anybody has any queries. And so I'll just keep on moving forward. The gardening tools. So as I'm talking, let me just play this video so that we can just see. So these are the basically the simple tools that we are needing for the garden. The first one is the trowel. It's a small shovel basically. So that is the thing that you will need. These tools can be actually you can even use those kitchen items for these kind of things. It's not necessary that you have to buy them, but these are the three main tools that you need. This one actually is called the rack. It is a small item that actually uh, you know rotates the soil. So if you like plant something and you move this rack around it, it will actually rotate the soil. Whatever is down will come up, and whatever is up will go down. So that is the one which is that is the purpose of the rack. After that, we have the weeder. So what this does is basically it removes all the weeds that you have growing in your plants, in your plant pots. So like we can see this person how he is removing the weed. He has just removed one of the weeds. Yeah. So yeah, again he's removing another weed. Simply you can pluck it out also, but when you pluck it out, the root might stay behind. So this is a good idea. Okay, the fourth one I have not mentioned, but it's still important in gardening, is this is the pruning shears. Now what this does is basically when you have twigs and small branches that you need to clip off, this is a very handy tool, and you can see how he's using it to cut off the items that are not necessary. uh, Make basically pruning, that's what is called pruning, branches that are actually in your way or not going straight, you can just prune them up with these pruning shears. So this is the basic tools that you need. The three major ones are the trowel, the rack, and the weeder. But apart from that, you can also have the shears with you. These are available on most online sites. You can even have them in tools shops. You can get them from tool shops. I think there is a popular shop called Mr. DIY. I think they're popping up everywhere where I'm going. So these are basically places where you can buy tools. So I've seen them having these kind of tools also. So you can even try there, Mr. DIY. You can try those to get these tools there from there also. You can include the shears also in this, but shears you will need after, like when the tree has grown a very big height or something like that, maybe after 1 or 2 years, then when you need the shearing pliers. So the shears is not a must actually, basically. So that's what I'm trying to say. So let's move ahead. This is the first kind of garden that we are going to introduce to you. Like, this is basically a square frame. You can see that this is a square frame, and inside the square frame there are small plots divided in 1 foot by 1 foot. So basically this kind of garden is called 1 square foot gardening. So I'll just give a play button over here as we are talking, and when we are discussing, you can just see 4 by 4 feet, that's the size of the plot, and it's 6 to 12 inches high. So it's 6 to 12 inches high. It's locked with wooden planks from all the four sides, and you have the height. And now this is the compost or the soil that is being prepared, and that soil is just fed into this block of 4 by 4 inches. And you can see that once it's filled up, you can divide it on top. So these are basically just frames on top of it, like there is nothing going till down, it is just on top. This frame is just running on top. So this is the kind of division. It's just like a mental map that you are getting, so that you can sow a particular seed here, then a particular seed here, and a particular seed here. So this is the kind of divisions. So you will know where you have planted what, and you can even label it. You can see small labels here. So these are all the blue sticks are small labels here. So this is called 1 square foot gardening. And the this is just like the in the video there right now, they're showing you how to make the organic compost for that. So I'll get to show, will work on that, how to make your own compost. You don't have to buy all these products, that they're showing. So this is just showing you what is a 1 square foot gardening and what kind of produce it can bring. So basically this is on top of your current land. You are just growing it on top of your current land. You don't have to dig a place or make a special area for it. You just put a wooden frame on top of it, you put the divisions on it, and you fill it up with the soil, and you just start planting. So this is the benefits of it. It's easy to grow multiple items in it, right? It's a space saving design because you are growing a lot of things in one small area, right? It's cost effective basically, because compared to other pots, you have to buy clay pots and all these kind of things. This is very very cheap compared to that, because you're getting to you're getting 16 plants. At least in this kind of design, you're getting 16 plants. And the reason why it is 4 feet by 4 feet is because when you're sitting here in this area, you can attend to this line and then you can attend to this line, and for attending to this line you can sit on this area. So this is a reason where your hands can reach to that place. So your hands can reach to here, and your hands can reach to there. So don't make the plot size to be like 6 by 6 or 8 by 8 or something like that. Make it into a small square patches which are 4 feet by 4 feet, so that your hands can reach, your hands can reach to the produce, to attend to the garden and all these kind of things. So there's a reason why these are small plots divided like that. Yeah. And the benefits of this, again, I'll just go through them. Easy to grow multiple plant items, space saving design, cost effective design, quick to build and easy to maintain, right? So it's just basically 4 pieces of wood which are 6 to 12 inches high, depending on what you want to grow. Like if you want to grow beetroot, then this is enough. This is the kind of soil that you need for the beetroot. If you want to grow carrots, then you have to go a little bit higher than that. So depending on what you kind of want to grow, anything which is growing outside will actually have deeper roots. So if you want to grow chilies or tomatoes, then you have to have this much, like 12 inches of soil, right? So we'll discuss all these kind of things, and we'll keep in mind, as we said, that is basically based on your budget also, what you want to make and all this. I'm just giving you an overview of what you can make. Right now we're just concerned with what kind of designs that you can have in your area. So this is possible when you have a plot of land which is empty, like in front of your house or back of your house. This is what you can do. In case if you're living in an apartment, what happens then? Now for that, you'll have to go to the next option here. Okay, this is just continuing to the previous. This is the kind of square gardener, 1 square foot garden that you can make. You can grow the flowers there. You can, I think this is the beetroot there. This is a spinach there. I think the types of it's not spinach, but it's some sort of leafy greens that you can grow there, right? So this is the kind of square foot garden that you can grow. Very appealing. This kind of square foot garden also grows. You'll be asking, what is this for? Now, this area is used to catch on for the vines, like they can the creepers that climb up, like bottle guards or the ridge guards or the ivy gourds, any gourds that will climb. This structure is used for that. So like if you can even see it properly, this is a bottle guard tree. If you can see it, the one I'm rotating, that is a bottle guard. It looks like a bottle guard. So when it will grow, it will catch onto this, and its vines will twirl around this, and it will go up and it will start fruiting and flowering there. So you will have the bottle guards hanging down there like that. So this is the purpose of this structure, which is designed like this. Okay. So this is basically 1 square foot gardening. Then this is again one to just give you a very good best example of what is a square foot garden. This is how it can look also in your house, and all of it also boils down to how you attend to it, what kind of plants you grow into it, and how you maintain it. So this is how it can look also. So basically you can see that it is held by bricks, like 2 layers of bricks are there, fired bricks, and then those are being held, these wooden planks are being held by that. And then there is soil, like this soil is about 1.5 feet, it looks like 1.5 feet. So that is the amount of soil that have been put here. So nothing to do with the ground. It is actually this soil can be like the worst soil. It doesn't matter. What you are growing is the soil that you put in here. So this is basically the advantage of this kind of gardening. You don't have to take care of the soil which is here. You just make your own new soil, put it in here. You can see even the color. This is dark color of soil here, right? So this is a compost, like very rich in nutrients, and this is the kind of soil that I've used there. Okay, we are nearing to our time, so I'll just take you through to the other ways of gardening. This is called the earth bucket, like sorry, the earth buckets. These are popular for people who don't have an area or a plot
One
of land.
bucket sits inside of the other bucket. This top bucket will hold the plant and the soil. The lower bucket creates a reservoir of water beneath the plant.
Water is worked up from the reservoir through the slits in this red plastic cup. The water is wicked up into the soil to create a constantly moist soil. How do we get the water into the reservoir? The answer is a cheap plastic pipe. This is 10 cents worth of plastic pipe that you can find anywhere in the world. It extends all the way from the top of the bucket down into the reservoir. You pour the water in here.
And to make the watering process almost automatic, we've been experimenting with a new system which uses atmospheric pressure. So far, the system has worked perfectly.
At the beginning of the growing season, you place a ring of fertilizer on top of the soil. Once you've added this ring of fertilizer, you're done fertilizing for the entire growing season. You can forget about it. This is part of a cheap plastic garbage bag. We cover the top of the bucket with it. The black plastic prevents water from evaporating. This bucket system only uses about 1/8 of the water that a traditional garden uses. The black plastic also prevents weeds from growing. If done correctly, you will never see a weed. After you cover the bucket with the black garbage bag, you tie it down. You won't remove the black plastic during the entire growing season. To plant the seeds or a small plant, you cut an X in the plastic.
Okay, so this is the best form of planting the trees that I've found in the plants, and I can personally vouch for this because one time we had the tulsi growing in this plant. Like there was a tulsi growing like this here, and it was covered just the similar way. There were two buckets. One of the bucket was holding the water. So like when you put one bucket on top of the other, there is a gap that is left behind in the middle in the lower portion, and that gap holds the water. So when we were like going out like for a couple of the time was like almost a month. So you can imagine this plant survived in the hot summer. I'm talking about Kutch. The temperature ranges from 35 to even 40 degrees here. So during the summertime, this tulsi plant was left there, and that tulsi plant I had filled it up with water, but I was just very skeptical. It might survive or it might not survive. But we returned after a month, and it was actually blooming. It had grown bigger and bigger, and it was blooming nicely. The seeds had come out, it had flowered, the seed, it has already just kept on growing as if it was on the ground. Now look at my words, as if it was in the ground. So this earth bucket system is the best way if you are living in an apartment and if you don't have a plot of land, like for example, this is the best way to mimic earth. What happens is the water which is in the bucket below is absorbed up through the capillary action. So these are all just small cotton, what I did was just the cotton ka nada aata na, the ones you tie your trouser with, the cotton nadas, you just cut them into piece, and you can just tie a knot on the top, and you just let them hang here. So these are the small holes. You can just tie 5 to 10 like cotton nadas here, and they are hanging onto the water here, and they're absorbing the water, creating a microclimate inside this area. And when that microclimate is getting the moisture, the roots keep on going deep and absorb the water moisture, because plants don't need water, plants need moisture. When you see a plant surrounded by a water puddle and that water puddle stays there for a couple of days, you'll see the plant dying down. And within a couple of weeks, the plant will die because the roots will start to suffocate. The roots actually absorb the moisture. So you have to be very careful of not overwatering the plant. So in this design, what happens is the excess water actually drains down. You know, when you put a lot of water from on top of here, or you put the water inside here, the water will actually go down and stay here only. And if you see carefully, I'm rotating uh, the pointer very slowly. There is a small hole here. Now this hole is actually the amount of water which is excess inside here will pour out from here, like it will just come out from this point here. You getting it? So we will also learn how to make these earth buckets, and this is the best way. Like this is basically paint buckets, 20-liter paint buckets. You just collect them from the surrounding, or you can buy them even in second hand, and you can grow this kind of vegetables, any type of vegetables, and they will grow and perform very well. and you just need to fill it up with compost in the lower portion and normal soil on the top because the roots are down. So just fill it with compost at the lower level, and on top you just leave it in normal soil, and then you will see this kind of fruiting happening. Very, very efficient way of planting, and we'll get to learn to do this also in these workshops. And this is how they look. We saw how they make it also, right? So this is what it looks from the top. Like this is a small vents there. Below you can see the bucket. The lower part of the second bucket is there. There is a hole in the first bucket on top. So this hole you can see through down the second bucket, the floor of it. You can see it here. This is the floor of the second bucket, which is down there. The first bucket is on top of it, and there are holes on top of that, and then you fill it up with soil, right? So this is how the earth bucket works. Of course, auto watering for months, as I said, for 1 month the tulsi survived without any problems, and then there was space-saving design. Like you can see, there is just one small area that you can grow a lot of buckets with. Now, obviously, this is going to be expensive for you because those buckets don't cost easy unless you have a source where you can outsource them, like from somewhere. If you have a construction site and they have these buckets lying around, you can ask them to give it to you. That's a very good way of investing these buckets and collecting them actually. So simple way, and the black polythene actually stops the water from evaporating. So what will happen is when the water is evaporating from over here, it will touch the black soil and it will pour down again. It will touch the soil and then go pour down. So 80% of the water is recycled in this system. So you don't need to water it as such. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, if I had left it for more than 1 month, it would have still survived. Because unfortunately, I did not check how much water was left inside. But for sure, the plant was flourishing even after 1 month of filling up. Just like I think this is 6 liters maximum. The 6 liters of water survived for 1 month. So this is very efficient actually. Okay, let's move on to the next way of gardening. Now, this is my personal favorite because I actually practice this. You can see that this is my house, and in that small house, I have a very small plot of land. Like you can see this wire mesh, that is the plot size. These are just sprouting outside, like on the road. Like literally, this is just come out from the wire mesh which is there. So this plot area is just about 1.5 meters by 3 meters. That's the area that is 1.5 meters by 3 meters long. That's the plot area. And we have this vines growing up to the second floor, and those are actually converting and coming to the balcony here. You can see the bridge guards hanging there, you know, and this all is happening. You can see the next year we planted bottle guards, so these are hanging there really well. Like the bees are coming there, the plants are growing nicely, the birds are coming there. Really wonderful site actually. So this is the kind of plantation that you do, and this I've named it. I mean myself. It's called the 3D gardens. What plants actually that we do in the garden normally is that we plant the length and the width. And now with the height, we never consider the height. The height is maximum the plant can go itself. But with this process, you can see that there are some vines which are so thick, and they have twirled around the wires. Now these are all these galvanized wires. If I can just see the next picture. No, it's not there. So basically there are galvanized wires. I think you can see this small wire going there. So these are galvanized wires running at about 1.5 feet, in like squares, like they're just running in squares. There's a video on this I'll share in the group also, how to make this. So basically these squares are running from bottom, like they're starting from here. You can see there was the leaves have covered it, but basically they started from here. The wires are running up, and from that side also up. There are no wires in between here, so the plant could not climb here because we wanted to show our board of what we teach. Like this is the board that we used. So the wires are going from here to the top floor, the second floor, not even the first floor. So the balcony that you see here is the one I'm standing here. So this balcony, and the wires are going still up. So the wires are still traveling up, and you can see the harvest there. So what is the advantage of this? So like the plants are connected to the Earth's bioelectric field. Now this option was not there in this because it's away from the Earth, right? So this option is there in this option. Uh, Square gardens have that option. Bioelectric field is very necessary for the plants to be successful. So that's why you see whatever tulsi plant you have in a pot and what tulsi plant is growing in the wild, there's a huge difference. Even if you're putting a lot of nutrients in the soil in the pot, still it's not connected to the earth. So as I was saying about the laws of nature, you have to connect things with the earth. Now you will ask me, then what if I'm living in an apartment? So I have a hack for that also. You connect a copper wire from a planted pot to the earthing system of your house. That is a very technical thing, that and you can only do it with a lot of clarity with electricity, but that is a way of doing it, and that helps you to ground your plants. And when you ground your plants, they grow in a different, more natural way. There's a documentary onto this, and I'll share this documentary once we keep on going into this courses deeper. So these 3D gardens are actually connected with the earth, and so they have a very high produce. You can see how many bottle guards, ridge guards are hanging there, how many bottle guards are hanging there, and this is every time it just gets this kind of harvest. So the soil is so rich in nutrients that it just starts towering up, and the starts flowering, and giving the fruits. Let me just finish up with the types of advantages of this. So the plant vines climb over the balcony and give you the fruit there, and this reduces the ambient temperature of the house also, right? So if you can consider this house and it's covered with all this greenery there, so this greenery is traveling all on top of this east. This is the east facing house, so the sun keeps on hitting the rays, and the rays are actually absorbed by these plants. So this is the kind of advantage you get. Your ambient temperature of the house is reduced through this kind of design, and future garden towers can be incorporated with this kind of design. Now, what is a garden tower? Like, this is the next one that I want to introduce to you. So are you guys getting any questions on these kind of ideas? We worked with the square foot garden, right? This is one way of gardening, which is very, according to me, very beneficial and very easy to plant for newcomers also even. And then we had this planting earth buckets, and then there is the third one that I'm going now. It's a little bit complicated because you have to make the wire structure and everything, but this is better compared to the fruits that you'll get from it, and it's actually beneficial only for vines, like the ones that climb up, creepers basically. So, any questions in this till now? So that we can go to the last one. We are also approaching our time. So I'll just quickly finish up. Any questions till now? These kind of three kind of garden ways of gardening.
No, sir.
Okay. So the last one that I want to show you is garden towers. Now in this garden towers, you can see that in the middle over here, there is a white cap. Can you see the white cap here? So this white cap is actually a cap that is allowing the food waste, like your kitchen waste, you place it inside here and it travels inside, and the earthworms start eating it, and they travel around and they start producing and giving the fertilizer to the plants. So this is another type of a way you can produce your plants. Again, this is for people who don't have a plot of land or who are living in an apartment. They have a small balcony. They can have this kind of growing happening outside the balcony. And even your kitchen waste, what happens to your kitchen waste is you can place it in this middle over here. I'll just play the video, even though we are running out of time. Let me just give you a small example. It's a 3-minute video. After that, we have a couple
We
of
have designed a
slides
vertical
to go.
50-plant container gardening system that uses your kitchen scraps to create its own organic fertilizer. It can grow food right on your deck or patio and grow significantly faster than conventional gardening because it provides the plant roots steady access to nutrient-dense water. Anywhere there's sun or artificial grow lights, you can have a garden. The tower arrives fully assembled. You fill it with quality potting soil like a regular gardening container. Then place seeds or starter plants on top and in each of the 45 holes around its periphery. This means you can grow 50 plants vertically from a single tower in a very small area like your balcony, patio, sidewalk, rooftop, or greenhouse. The tower's height enables gardeners to stand up or sit, which means the towers are perfect for seniors and those with physical limitations. The user gradually fills the center tube with kitchen scraps, adding worms to accelerate the process. As the worms break down the compost, they produce vermicompost or worm castings, a very high-quality organic fertilizer and soil conditioner. The worm's digestive enzymes also distribute beneficial microbes to help create a living soil environment for healthy plant growth. The center composting tube contains 28 small holes running down its length. These allow the worms to travel back and forth through the entire structure. The continuous movement of worms through the composting tube and around the tower distributes healthy worm manure that creates channels for steady aeration throughout the soil. Through this process, the soil is renewed continuously. The gardener waters the plants in the traditional way by pouring it on top. Some of the water seeps through the 28 holes in the compost tube and filters through the vermicompost. The remaining water filters through the potting soil and eventually reaches each level of plants. As gravity carries water through the system, excess water drains out and is collected by a small container placed beneath the tower. This water contains leached nutrients from the soil and enriched compost tea from the active vermiculture, which can then be poured back on top to fertilize the plants. The tower's design also drastically reduces evaporation and ensures that the plant roots have steady access to nutrient-dense water. So here's the result. The continuous generation of nutrients, along with stable hydration, creates the ideal environment.
Okay, so basically, it was going too long, but it's just finally showing you how the plant structures are surviving and how, when you put the kitchen compost inside here, it makes a beneficial food for the earthworms, and the earthworms keep on traveling and they keep on defecating and removing their waste and placing it as fertilizer for the plants to grow. Now, this design is basically like this is ready made, but you can actually make this at home. You just need to buy this kind of containers. You need to slide like 6 or 7 inches and make cuts on it, and then heat it up with a hot gun and just press it with a wooden plank. So this is the kind of thing that you can do. I'll show you how it's done also. It's not so complicated. And you just place a pipe in the middle, which is like something like 6 inches or 8 inches, a drainage pipe. And in that pipe, it has some holes, like small holes, on it. Like, so these pipes are having these holes for the kitchen waste and earthworms to go inside and eat the kitchen waste, and then they come out and start defecating. So it's getting complicated now, but if you look at it, these are the various ways based on your budget on how you want to do it, what plants you want to grow, and what kind of climate you have. So if you consider it, this kind of activity you can do if you have a very normal climate, like not so hot. Because if it is a hot climate, what will happen is all this will be surrounded by the hot air, and this will start killing the earthworms. So you have to be very careful what you kind of adopt. So if you have a hot climate, what is favorable to you is something like this, because this is hot. So the greenery actually keeps everything cool, and the vines are traveling up, so the nutrients are still in the ground, so the ground is kept cool. So this is the kind of thing that you can do when you are in a hot area. Even this type of idea is useful in a hot area, because the water keeps on evaporating from here and it cools down the plant, and then it comes back again to to this area because of the black polythene. So for hot areas, these two ideas are the best. Even this is for a good for the hot areas, because you can water it on the ground, and the ground actually keeps the uh, moisture in there, as compared to if you start growing this on the hot area. Let me just go to that. This will actually start dying in one process, because the life force of this is actually the earthworms, and the earthworms don't survive above 30 degrees. They need to be around 25 to 28 degrees maximum. So if you go above that, they'll start dying. So you have to be very careful with that. And this is again understanding the nature's laws and all these things. And once you do that, This is the kind of benefits that you can get. A 50 plant, can grow in this kind of structure. So, just quickly summarizing, the variety of plants can grow in a single 1 meter by 2 meter high space. A variety of plants, so basically 50 plants can grow, and based on your need. The system acts as a composter for kitchen waste, and water is managed very efficiently again in this, because the water is collected here and at the bottom, and then you can just put it back again on top. Yeah. So we are 10 minutes
We
into
have designed
the extra time. This is the summary of the types of gardens that you can have for yourself. The first one is the garden towers that we discussed just now. Before that, less complicated is the earth buckets, and I would also go for them also, these earth buckets. Then we have the 3D gardening, a little bit complicated, but it's possible. You can see these vines going up. Every year, these vines keeps on changing. Once it's bottle guard, next time is this ridge guard. Once we had a pumpkin, it just started to catch on to the wire system, and we had a pumpkin here, somewhere here. It just placed itself here, and it was quite a big chunk, and it grew up here. So that's what happens with this kind of thing. Of course, keeping in mind that this is the soil, the amount of nutrients in the soil was good. We keep all our kitchen waste inside here, and it's like almost people start looking at it as why are we doing that? Anything peels, potato peels, tomato peels, everything we used to put in this plot, and we used to cover it up. And then sometime after like a couple of months, and then it started to be very very fertile land. And last thing I want to talk about is, before we close the session, is that we want to talk about containers. Now, what is the better container, the clay pot or the plastic container? So the question always remains is that the clay pots have the ability to evaporate moisture. I'm sure you're aware of the clay pot which is used, जिसको कहते हैं ना मटका पानी, घड़े का पानी है. Basically मटके का पानी, it is cooling effect is there. So the same thing happens with the plants. Any plant that is growing in the clay pot will actually be having a cooler climate system inside here. So the root structure will be cooler. So in your terrace, if it is a hot area, your terrace is basically in a place like Gujarat, for example, very hot area, for example, in the Kutch area. So for that area, the clay pots is the ideal, place that you can put the plants in. But if you have a place where it rains quickly after a hot day, like somewhere near the beach or something like that, then the plastic containers also are okay. But having said that, you also have to be aware that these plastic containers decompose and they start removing microplastics. So they are actually not actually beneficial to you, and you have to be aware of that. That if you are growing into the plastic containers, they have to be new containers. Don't use old containers which are breaking apart or brittle, or they, just basically decomposing away. You have to buy good new plastic containers. At least that way you'll not have the microplastics going into your food system. So it's very important. I would personally just stick with clay pots also, but the clay pots will actually keep your plants very cold in these kind of areas where it's raining a lot. For that, what you can do is you can use organic waste, this which can keep the soil hot. जिसको कहते हैं ना, सड़ा हुआ खाना होता है, and peels and vegetable peels and potato peels and all these things, if you mix it with the soil, then that bacterial activity which happens in the clay pot will actually keep the pot hot in a cold area also. So these are ways of making the balance come back again. So basically, even if you are living in a hot area, you can just use clay pots directly. But if living in a cold area or it's a rainy area, you can use clay pots still. You don't have to go for plastic. You can just use clay pots, but you can use organic waste inside it and put organic waste inside it so that it creates bio energy. Decomposition creates heat, so the pots stay a little bit warmer than they are supposed to in the outside temperature. So that's another way of maintaining the things. So it's a very, very scientific thing that we are actually talking about. Gardening is not as easy as we are supposed to think, but it's a very scientific way of understanding. I'll give you all the points one by one as we are talking. And I'm sure I've said a lot till now. So I'll have just a small summary. before we take any questions. What we'll do is you can maybe put the questions as a small video on the group. I think it's better that way, and we can able to all see it at our own time, and we can also answer it in that way. So I'll just summarize quickly. We're just getting over 15 minutes now, but I'll just summarize. There is no substitute for empathy, and it's the foundational relationship between human beings. कोई भी काम करना हो तब एम्पथी से करना है, लर्निंग भी करना है तो ऐसे स्वार्थ से करना है कि मेरे को सीखना है. You want to learn something, so you learn it with an open heart, and there is no substitute for that. You know, so we have to have an open heart to be empathetic, and once we are empathetic, we'll be able to learn quickly. That's a very profound statement if you get to understand it. When you are empathetic, जब आप जिज्ञासु है तो आप जल्दी कोई भी चीज सीख लेंगे. So always stay empathetic. Even in these classes, what I'm trying to show you and teach you is what I've conduced over the 8 years or 10 years of farming that I've done. I've conduced it to these 5 workshops, and so if you take it empathetically, you will be getting benefits quickly, as to compare to हाँ इसको शायद पता है, शायद ये कह रहा है, शायद वो नहीं. Have questions. That are most welcome. I like to be, interrogated even for the knowledge that I have, because I am also learning the process. So everyone alive needs to care enough, not just about each other, but care for the environment, the earth, water, and air. We looked at the state of the earth, the water, and the air, and we should be all responsible for preserving it, for maintaining it, for making it even better than it is right now. Because that's what needed right now. It's not just maintaining of good air, water, and earth. It's improving it. It's making it better. We have a task to do actually. Somewhere I read it very interestingly is that we have 500 years of work for everyone, to clean up the earth. सब लोग सब काम छोड़ देंगे तो भी 500 साल लगेंगे, सबको काम करने में लग जाएंगे इस अर्थ को सही करने में. That's the amount of trees we have to plant. That's the amount of activity that we have to do. The garbage we have to remove from the seas, from the polluted ponds, rivers, and all these kind of things. 500 साल लगेंगे अर्थ को सही करने में. सब जब काम पे लग जाएंगे तो, राइट नाउ जो भी काम कर रहे छोड़ करके सब अर्थ में लग जाएंगे, सब अर्थ के काम करने के लिए, तो भी 500 साल का काम बाकी है. That's a very big statement, and actually a very big truth we have to face. So we are so good at dismissing the earth's needs. अर्थ की जरूरत को हम जानते नहीं है, उसको इग्नोर करते हैं for what we want. जो हमारी ख्वाहिश है उसको पूरी करने के लिए, जब अर्थ की जो डिमांड है, जो अर्थ की रिक्वायरमेंट्स है, जो अर्थ की साइक्लिसिटी है, उसको छोड़ देते हैं, and we are just focusing on our needs, and then what we'll be left with, the result will be we will be getting what we deserve. जो रिजल्ट आएगा वो हम जो डिजर्व करते वही आएगा, हमारी औकात के हिसाब से रिजल्ट आएगा. So we have to be very careful of what the result that we want. If it is that kind of result we want, we have to be very careful of what we want. So yeah, in summary, what we have learned today: be humble in your learnings, right? And if you're humble in your learnings, you will not be surprised of the outcome. जब आप कोई भी चीज सीख लेते हो तो आप उसके आउटकम को एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हो, आप चौंक नहीं जाओगे उसके आउटकम से. That's the beauty of learning, right? Think globally, act locally. If the earth is burning, we can plant a tree. निराश नहीं होना है. We don't have to be settling down and saying कि अब हम छोड़ देते हैं, हम कुछ नहीं करेंगे, हमारा काम है, हमारा बस का काम नहीं है. Don't do that. You have to take a share of your duty. That's what I'm trying to say. Make a garden. That's how we start, and then you start producing. You start sharing that produce, and when we started planting, the whole line of plots in our lane have started planting with us. So this is the kind of impact that you can have, even just by planting a small tree and small garden. The three major gardening tools: the trowel, the rack, and the weeder. We're just summarizing right now. And square gardens, these are the best for vegetable plots that have a land, like you have a piece of land on earth. So then the square gardens is a good option for you. If you are living on some area where you have the terrace, then the rooftop is good for you. The earth buckets is good for you. Clay pots should be used first, right? Clay pots should be used. Second best option is plastic bags or plastic tubs, right? And the last option is in the rooftop gardens should be plastic tubs. Sorry, yeah. The second best option was the plastic bags and the plastic tubs, right? So this is the kind of things you have to go. First, stay with the earth buckets because it has the watering system automatically. If that is not possible or if it's that's too expensive, then you can go for the clay pots, right? And the last option you should stick to is the plastic tubs and the plastic bags. So this is the last option. You should not do this if you can do this. And if you can do this, clay pots. If you still have a little bit more money, go for the earth buckets. It's really efficient. Okay. 3D gardening is the use of ground and terrace to grow produce. So 3D gardens is the best option according to me. It has the functionality of using the earth's bioelectrical energy, and you're planting the vines and it's going on the top floor and you get the harvest on that area. So that's how we do it. And garden towers are a miniature of the 3D garden. So what this is basically, let me just show you. These 3D gardens are there. This what you see, the 3D garden is there. The miniature of that is this garden towers. So this garden towers are basically miniature of that. So that's what I'm trying to say in the last point there. So we need to understand what we are needing and what is our budget capacity. Based on that, we can have and decide on what we want to do. So I will share the link soon of the video that we have just made right now of this seminar. What you can do is maybe go through it very quickly, understand what your requirements are based on your capacity there, your area of work and your terrace and your microclimate that you have, what you want to grow, what you would like to eat, and then based on that you can just make a small notes on how to go about it, and we can just get to uh, further into deeper into this as we go on. So, as I said, we'll just leave to the questions to the group messaging in the group, and it will be easier that we have just gone more than we should. But I'm sure because of the first time, we can understand also. We need to understand these principles before we go ahead. So this is the type of mental clarity that I want to bring to you first before we start gardening. Today we just learn tools and ways of gardening, but before that we need to be empathetic. We need to be understanding nature. We need to be understanding the laws of nature, and that's when we go ahead of that. So we will end the session now, and we'll get back to the group if you have any questions and any queries that you have. It was nice holding this seminar with you guys. We'll meet again tomorrow at the same time. Thank you very much.